Welcome to Podcast, the Business of Dentistry podcast, brought to you by Practice Plan. Podcast delivers the best business advice, real-life stories, and practical hints and tips to make your practice a more profitable and sustainable business. And now, here's your host.
Hello, welcome to Podcast. My name's Hazel Dockery from Practice Plan, and with me today is Gemma Starkey, also known as Miss Social, and we're going to be talking about Instagram. Thanks for joining us, Gemma. It's lovely to speak to you again. Why don't you just explain to people what your background is, who you are, and what you do?
Hi Hazel, thanks for having me on. So I work helping dental practices with social media. I was originally a dental nurse and our practice wanted to do more marketing. And at the time we were having some coaching with Chris Barrow and he sort of picked up my skills, might be well suited to marketing. And it was an interesting aspect and it really sort of enriched my job as a dental nurse, exploring these different aspects of how a dental practice kind of runs outside of the surgery.
Yeah.
At the time, social media was starting to take off around the world.
Yeah.
And I found it was a really good way for us to market the practice because we had a small budget at the time. So I went on a lot of courses, as dental professionals do.
Yeah.
But instead of dental courses, I went on things like how to film videos and how to create content and these type of things that complemented marketing the dental practice. And over time, as I've worked with different dentists, they've all sort of taken me on to manage their social media accounts.
Right.
To the point that I got too busy to do dental nursing, and now I solely focus on helping dental practices, to get social.
So he's a clever man, that Chris Barrow, spotting you, isn't he? He's done you a big favour. So now, your career sort of grew organically then, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, it did. And much like the best patients that you attract in the practice are from recommendations, it was the same for me. A lot of dental practices just came to me through recommendations. And I have had some time off just managing my existing clients because I've had a young family. But now I am back and sharing everything that I know with the dental world to help people to manage social media and get the most from it without it affecting, their surgery time or the running of the practice, to get it nice and efficient.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to be talking about Instagram today, and that seems to be, well, I think you've told me in the past that Facebook is the most used social platform, but Instagram is pretty high up there as well, isn't it? So why should people be using it?
Yeah, so Facebook does remain the most used social media platform, but Instagram is, of course, owned by Facebook, aka Meta now. And Instagram users, are in a really good age category for dental practices wanting to attract patients, that from sort of younger ages of 16 right up to about 45 is the demographic on Instagram. And people do go onto Instagram and do the sort of daily scroll. I certainly feel, as in the accounts that I manage and the people that I know, that Instagram is probably the most preferred social media and the one that they spend the most time on. And what's interesting on Instagram is that 62% of people now use Instagram to research products and brands before they buy from them.
Right.
So for dental practice wanting to attract new patients, it's crucial really that you've got a good Instagram profile so that when patients are researching these treatments in their local area, Invisalign, for example, that you are appearing and you're providing them with that information.
Now, with Facebook, you can actually join local pages. You can't do that with Instagram, can you? Can you target it?
You can't, they don't have sort of local pages, but you can follow local accounts. For example, I'm based in Leicester and you have things like the Leicester foodie and the Leicester blogging mum. So you can follow local people and see what they're doing. It's also quite interesting that you can, one for example, one of the ways that I reach out to local people is to find what the attractions are in that area, local parks that I know patients will use, local restaurants that I know patients will use, hairdressers, beauty salons. And then we can of course go and follow those pages, and we can also go and follow that page's followers. And so it is almost like the modern day leaflet drop, that you're giving them a follow, that's just a on the shoulder to say, hi, we're this dental practice, and that type of work is called engagement work, and that's something that I do for my clients on a monthly basis.
Mm.
And the reason is when we do the monthly report, and we want the accounts to be growing in followers, growing in enquiries, and growing in the number of people that have visited our profile, that when we're going and doing this follow and the tap on the shoulder, that we can then see in the stats that people are coming to our page to investigate who we are.
Right. So you can actually get sort of like concrete stats on that kind of thing then.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't do that type of work, your page won't necessarily grow in the number of followers, because people, you're relying on people waiting to come to you, and this method just allows you to go to them. And one of the other fantastic things is when you go and see these people to follow, we don't want to get caught up in vanity metrics, that we have 10,000 followers if we're sort of a small to medium dental practice. Actually, 2,000-3,000 followers, it'd be a good number, but we want those followers to be valuable followers. We want them to be local people. We want them to be people that will come to the practice. So when you are sort of giving these people a little follow, a tap on the shoulder, on Instagram, it shows you underneath all of the accounts that you've also got in common. So it will say they follow 7 of the same people that you do.
Yeah.
So I only ever click on people to give them a follow if I know that they are local, because there's just no point following somebody on the other side of the country that's never going to come to you.
Yeah.
So it really is a good way to build valuable followers.
Yeah, that's a really good hint, isn't it? So, but I mean, you don't just follow people on Instagram, do you? You're going to be posting. So, how do people start building
Yeah,
an Instagram, good content?
well, I think understanding why you should be on Instagram in the first place is a good idea, and it is to form connections with people in your local area. It is also, of course, for people to come and review the services that you offer when they're researching. And it also just helps the practice overall. It helps them with team engagement too, because the dental team like to be seen on there and like to be associated with a good practice locally. So
Yeah.
that's very nice. But so that's part of the big reason of why that you should be on there. And then the how do you make that then happen? Because dental practices are busy, the surgeries can often run late, you don't have time at lunch. So how do we do that without interfering too much with the surgery time?
Yeah.
And there's different ways. Some surgeries, if they really want to go all out, will actually close the surgery down for a day, or have a weekend where they invite a videographer in, a digital content creator, and they will create all of the content for them. That can be expensive to do, usually a couple of £1,000. And of course, you've got the cost of having the team there, and
Yeah.
the lost surgery time. But for some practices, if they really are going all out on their marketing, that's a good option for them. The other way that people can do it is to just have regular sessions within the clinic. So whether that be weekly, what content are we going to post, whether that be monthly or even quarterly. So they can see what events are coming up, and they can plan for those in advance, because we want social media to be a positive thing, and it's not a positive experience for the dental team if you're rushing and wanting them to lose out on their lunch break to quickly
Yeah.
create some content.
Mm.
So one of the great ways that I've found that's just been fundamental in changing the way that I do this is to have an annual content calendar.
Yeah.
So this annual content calendar has all the events in there of things that are happening. So for example, right now we're going towards Christmas, we're going towards January. So we can put into that calendar, what is it that we want to be concentrating on? So Christmas, we can have things that are related to the practice, the Christmas party. Okay, we must get a team photo for this. We can have our Christmas opening hours. Maybe you practice doing elf on the shelf and you can share some funny photos. But also you can think about in terms of what things you'd like to market during this time. So in January, for example, people are wanting to get their health sorted out. It's a time for fresh starts, new beginnings. One of the number one things that I always promote, you'll be pleased to hear this, Hazel, in January is the practice plan.
Oh,
Because
thank you.
people want to get their health sorted out and they want regular dental care, and the practice plan provides that when they find out that they can join a dental practice and it will only cost them a smaller percent every month.
Yeah.
And so that sort of content can be planned out in advance, ready for when January comes. So it's valuable content that you're planning. So you have this calendar and you list out every month, you list out all the different events, because of course it's also, let's say that the World Cup's happening, it's no good posting about it's National Dog Day if actually everybody on social media is talking about the football. So
Yeah.
are you maybe showing the football matches on the TV and the surgery? So you can adjust your post, because social media isn't just about selling to patients. On Instagram, people don't go on just to be sold to. They go on for entertainment, they go on to be nosy, and so you want a variety of content that you're posting on, and the calendar can help make that happen.
Yeah. I know that the showing the personality of the practice or a company, it works really well, because we do it quite a lot at Practice Plan. We have reels that we put up now and again, and often when there's a trend, what do you think about trends for reels?
Yeah, so trends can be really fun to join in. And I think that if you're confident in social media and you've been managing your Instagram well, this is something that you can look out for. But if a lot of practice gets so swept up in worrying about following trends that they're not actually then posting content. So authentic, going into 2025, I think authentic content is key. So it's really is thinking, for example, you guys at Practice Plan, you have your yellow branded colours, we have the dressing up, we have the fun, we can sense that we like seeing you, what you're up to, and we get an authentic feel about who you are. And the same should be for dental practices. What are the key three things of your practice? Are you a really friendly team? Is your practice full of laughter? So I have one client where actually posting really serious posts won't work for them, because the practice principals and the dentists, they laugh so much and have such a good rapport with the patients that laughter echoes through the corridors. And so when I create content that authentically reflects the character of the dental practice while still remaining professional, that content lands differently and it hits differently. And we get really good interaction with that. And going back to this 62% of people researching products and brands before they buy, that when that dental practice, when somebody is researching that and clicks onto that dental practice, and they can see that their friends have liked the post, they can see that their friends have commented on the post, that it's sort of reassuring that, okay, so my people go to this dental practice. So that's actually a really good way, and a bit more of sort of the modern day recommendation.
Yeah. But you wouldn't just post stuff like that, would you? I mean, you'd have to put different types of content up, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where sort of having that calendar of the event and then thinking, okay, what can we share? So we want a variety of content. So we want on there, we want some testimonials always. We
Mm.
want before and after photos on there. And we want sort of also what's happening within the practice. Is it 10 years that you've been offering patients the practice plan? Is it that you have been a member of Dental Phobia for the last 15 years? Are you a member of the BDA Good Practice? These are events that you can actually celebrate, take a nice photo of, and put them onto social media. And it establishes you as an expert and
Mm.
somebody that they can trust. So you really do need to have that variety of content. And then, of course, you can have the funner posts interspersed between that. Sometimes dental practices um, get mixed up in thinking that they have to post content every single day. And
Mm.
that's not the case. You know, as long as you're posting content regular, I've found that sort of 3 to 4 times a week is a really good sort of mix that practices can cope with. So if you're thinking about, okay, this is what's happening in the calendar, we want 3 to 4 posts. Okay, we have one testimonial, we have one before and after, we'll have one fun one, and we'll have one of a practice achievement. Then you soon are able to create that content. And if you are getting in a content creator to film that, you can give those the instructions that that's what you'd like to do, or a member of the team is helping to film that content. You can put aside time of a practice meeting to film that content ready to schedule in advance.
Now, if a member of the team is filming it, I mean, they might be a gifted amateur, but it's probably never going to be as slick as a professional one. Is that still okay?
Um, yeah, I think that it's okay to a point. I think that if you do have somebody in charge of that in the dental practice, that it's worthwhile them going on to a social media course, or even working with somebody like me that does this, and for me to come in and help them to manage their accounts, teach them the sort of photography and photos and videos that we're looking for
Mm.
a year, and then hand over so they have all the right processes, training and systems in place to go forward and be able to confidently manage it themselves. Because there are also, you know, things we have to be aware of: the GDC regulations on what we should be posting, what we shouldn't, patient confidentiality, representing, you know, not bringing the profession into disrepute. So we have to be mindful that there are wider aspects that if we have somebody in charge of social media that they need to be aware of. GDC regulations, as I've just said, also things like the Advertising Standards Authority, what we
Mm.
are and aren't allowed to advertise. So they have to be mindful of that. So either getting somebody like myself in, or seeking out some courses that they're able to learn that themselves.
Right. Yeah. So that's good advice, because otherwise they could land themselves in hot water, really, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could. And the GDC actually have some example case studies of social media gone wrong for dentists, you know,
Yeah.
which has included things like sharing patients' photos in a setting that they think is confidential, that
Mm.
being screenshot and shared elsewhere, and a complaint being made about the dentist.
Mm.
So they are important aspects to know about.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely something that they should bear in mind then, and not necessarily something that would occur to someone who's just like a private social media user, is it really?
Yeah, no, and the thing is they might go on and look at what other dental practices are doing, But of course, when we're going online, it isn't just our local area, it's a global thing. And so they might be taking inspiration from a post in America, where, for example, in America, there's no restrictions on advertising prescription only medicines. So that falls to dental practice, they fall into a trap with Botox. So in America, you're allowed to advertise Botox, you're allowed to share before and afters of Botox. But in the UK, that's against the law.
Oh.
Yes, and so they might be sharing all of those, which actually will get them in trouble with the Advertising Standards Authority and the GDC being made aware and having a look at what's going on there. So it is important for them to have a look and understand the kind of the wider picture.
Yes, so really, people might think, oh yeah, I know what to do about this kind of thing. I do a lot of posting, but they could do with advice from someone like you, really, before they get themselves in trouble.
Yeah, they could, and even if they don't want my services, I'm always happy for people to kind of come over to my Instagram page. Am I okay to plug?
Of course you are.
At Miss Social UK, and they can just drop me a question, because it's really interesting for me to see what challenges they're coming up against. So it helps me to understand, and I can provide better content for them that really helps dental practices. And I'm happy to give people advice on that.
Well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Gemma. It's been great. And I've learned an awful lot, actually, because I wasn't aware of the pitfalls and the potential pitfalls and dangers of I didn't know you couldn't advertise Botox. So there might be quite a lot of people out there as well who don't know that.
Yeah, I think that there are. I did post on that actually last year, and it sort of really did the rounds because people didn't know. So yeah.
Yeah. So we want people to be posting, but we want them to be doing it safely and legally. So Gemma,
Yeah.
really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming to chat to us. And then hopefully we'll be able to speak to you again about another type of social media.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, Hazel.
All right then, take care.
Bye.